We're in space, or at least we're gonna be. Right now we're still in an office building with sheetrock and studs. We're gonna fix that in a hurry. One of my favorite parts about the design on this one was the doors, which is loosely based on the bridge door to the Serenity on Firefly. More specifically, a beautiful Lego model of the Serenity, as far as the actual geometry, and we'll show you a picture of that right here because it's cool and I stole it. So this opening right here, we have 3 of these in this game. This is going to be one of the doors that you have to figure out how to get through, because that's what escape games are all about, is getting through doors. The door is modeled off of the Serenity, which is kind of modeled off of a submarine type door with that rounded top that very much sells it as this is a pressure door. It's a lot easier to build things that are angled, if not fully square, but it just didn't look as cool, and that curve is definitely this is a pressure hull, which puts you in space or way underwater. In this case, space. I'm gonna grab some pieces and show you what's going on here. This is the door. This is we're calling this the inside of the door, and this is the outside of the door. So this is the side you are seeing when you first come in here and you find yourself on board a hostile or at least questionable alien ship. This is first thing you have to get through. Once again, we have our etched acrylic light panels. So you have basically 3 locks on this door, and you have to figure out how to open those. The buildup on this sheet here is a 3/4 inch True Pan, which is that lightweight MDF that we like so much. It weighs about 2/3 as much as regular MDF, so there's gonna be less stress on the hinges, and it's still plenty solid. In front of that, this piece here is what we're calling the skeleton. So this is the full size of the door, and it just kind of gives it some extra shape, and it's not just a flat door, it has some texture to it. And then behind this panel, on this layer, is where all of the acrylic inserts into, with the lights going around that. This sheet in front of it to hold it all together. Nice non-Phillips head bolts on there, because the Phillips head screw is a very iconic, it looks like a screw, but when you have the cap head or a hex head, it just looks a little different, a little more weird tech, high-tech type things. The wires for all these lights are coming through here, through our EMT, and they're going to come out right here, where it's going to go into some flex conduit, which will then go into the wall, and that'll be flex conduit so that players can't get to wires and mess them up. That'll be nice and robust. Also, they just recently got the AC finally on here at the location. Our shop still has no AC, so here's a montage of Preston and I sweating our asses off because it's 100 degrees. Montage! Take some montage. All right. So we have the door, now we need the door frame. And because we have an unusual shape of door, you obviously need an unusual shape of door frame, which is where these guys come in. So here's our pieces, they're gonna go at the bottom. And these will be captured by other plates right here. So in doing the design on this, I had to think a lot about order of operations and how things were actually going to install, because you can build something really great in the shop and then you come to bring it in and realize that you haven't left yourself any way to actually put it together. So on our bottom pieces here, there's going to be another plate, which we have to mill next, that will capture here and then into here. So that cover plate will actually be structural on this one. We've got these guys here that will have similar trim strips running up that one, just like you would have normal door trim. We're going to be doing that, but it'll be much more geometric and spacey. And then starting up here, here is the arch top that will go in there. And I've intentionally left a little bit of a gap on the top of this piece going into the top of the door because I don't trust our frame carpenters. And so that'll be going in, and then, because we're gonna need a way to get this guy in, and if he was entirely built up, there wouldn't be anywhere to put a screw or anything. So we've got screw plates here and here on the edge. So that's gonna go up. We'll have a temporary block on here for the height. Put this up in place, and then you can just reach inside the skeleton and hit there with your driver and screw that in. This plate, we have one for each side of each door. We'll go up here, and that'll actually be up above that. I'm short, so trust me on that, and that will cover over all of our seams and other various ugliness. And it's gonna look badass in the end. Quick word before I patch this up with the cover panel about making arches. Curves are, when you're making them out of wood, obviously more difficult than just flat pieces for, well, fairly obvious reasons. The master frame here, these I designed and cut out on our CNC machine. And then right here, we've kind of already painted and spacked over this, but we'll get a view of that. We have the ribs that are coming here radially around there, so that that whole frame goes together, and then you take your, in this case we used 1/4 inch plywood, sorry, 1/4 inch MDF, which is not ideal, and I'll get there in a second. Over here, so you just nail it in, clamp it in, glue it, nail it. They make some stuff called bend board, which is a bendable plywood, where most plywood you have just alternating layers kind of perpendicular to each other of grain, which keeps it stiff. With bend board, most of the grain layers are going the same direction, and in the middle you're going to have one very thin layer going in that perpendicular direction to add strength. Problem with using bend board in something like this is it tends to be very grainy, and when you're finishing it, it takes a lot of work. You have to put some Formica over it, or a lot of Bondo and spackle and all that. So I used MDF to avoid doing that. Did my first test piece. We've got 3 of these. It worked beautifully. So I was like, okay, fine. Went to grab the next one. Got it halfway done, and it broke. So I pulled that off, pulled the staples out, wiped off the glue, tried another piece, and it broke. Bent up in clamps overnight, and then wet the back of it with a spray bottle, and let that kind of soak in and let that relax some, so that it kind of already wanted to be in a curved shape. And the other 2 went together fairly well after that. Preston and I are very nearly done with the first room of space. These doors have been a lot of work, and now that I see them in place, I think it is totally worth it. No, go. You don't get the, Now the video's ruined. So this puzzle is going to happen in 3 tiers, and we have three locks on the door. It's actually the same 2 mag locks on all of those, but once you get all 3 of them done, like so. Ba-ba. Nice visual indicator. We are taking this etched acrylic thing and getting every possible mile we can out of it, and it's quite a few miles at this point. On these guys' wiring, this is pretty much everything on this is 12 volts. We've run into a couple of things and kind of learning as you go with how these circuits can work. Preston and I worked on a 3rd version of the wiring kind of master hub this morning and got that installed, which is what you just saw working. On the wiring front, we've got the lights. Powers for these is coming through the EMT, up the flex conduit. That's going to get routed a little better, and then off into the above land, and eventually making it to its hub over there. We've got 2 mag locks on here. These are 350-pound mag locks, so normally one of these on a regular door is all you're going to need. It's fine, even if you pull, the bottom might kick out some. Because of the way these doors are built, they are burly, they are heavy, but they are still essentially, let's do an end shot here, They are still essentially one piece of 3/4 inch MDF. And we actually used a lightweight MDF called Trupan for these, just so there wasn't all this weight coming down on the hinges, which, because of our fun shape here, the hinges have to be on that straight line. So your hinges are here and here. You don't have that full spread load of far top and far bottom like you would on a conventional rectangular door. Given that we have less of a hold width, wanted to keep the door as light as possible. So if we have just the one lock up here, or even worse, if you tried to put it up here where it's actually got a flat, you'd be able to pull the bottom pretty good just with this handle, and with just that continued repetitive stress, it put a lot of wear and tear on the door and our aforementioned closely spaced hinges. So we got 2 mag locks, and this is not going anywhere. You may have seen these before in a previous video. We called these the engineered override cards, or something like that. First time they have been installed in the cubbies, in the walls, and I am very happy with those. These are the covers. You've also seen these before. One thing that I'm not too surprised about, but we're having to take a look at is, so we've got rare earth magnets sunk into the corners here and then in the corners up here. Except that on a couple of these, the magnets actually pulled out of the MDF because the magnet is stronger than the epoxy that was holding it in. What's a little surprising to me, at least, is that the Sintra actually held the magnet, its magnet, and it actually pulled the magnet out of the MDF. Normally, nothing likes to stick to Sintra unless you do a chemical weld of PVC, which Sintra is, to more PVC. That's the only way you can get PVC to stick to PVC, and the only thing it'll ever stick to. So it's a little surprising to me that those bastards are strong. Come here. The glue held in the Sintra and not in the MDF. Solution. Because we can't tell you about problems until we have come up with a solution. The good people at Magcraft make magnets. Who'd have thunk it? So what we have here is rare earth magnets. So it's the same half-inch neodymium, I can never remember what that word is, magnet, except that it has a countersink and a hole in it. So you can put this into your hole and then actually screw it in, so you're not just counting on glue or epoxy to hold it in. Important to note with these is that they do come in north and south. I mean, obviously each magnet has a north and a south, but seeing as one side has a countersink and the other doesn't, it is important that you get both sides of this. I haven't yet quite checked which one's which. Which one do I actually want? Ah, crap. And now I just stuck the 2 stacks together. I gotta break them apart. Hopefully, in the right place. This we haven't showed you before, although we've had it in some version for a while now. This is the Alien Engineer's personal storage locker. And as you can tell by the red light, it are very locked. I could pull the wall over right now because it's not fully secured at this time before I got rid of this. First version of this, we just used some, I believe, 80-pound magnets, some of the small, more drawer-sized ones. And just getting a little bit of wiggle on there with the magnets, you were able to just kind of pop it off without having to solve the puzzle, and it didn't even really take that much force. So we went crazy overkill, and these are 2 600-pound magnets that we had left over from a previous job, and we installed them in there. So yes, you could have several large men doing pull-ups off this thing if you bolted it to the ceiling. This one is a microcontroller. There is an Arduino back here, and I'm proud of this one. I'm not really a coder, I may have said before. I wrote the code for this, just kind of going down what I thought it should look like, and it worked the first time. Almost. I found out that the 0 and 1 pins aren't actually I/O pins. They're for talking to other Arduinos or whatever. So other than that, my code worked the first time. One thing I forgot to mention is that this is kind of a quick, probably this was about maybe 2-3 minutes of the video. We've been wiring in here for a week plus, Preston and I. So there is lots of wires running through various conduits and inside the walls and getting all of the lights talking properly, and it's been a lot of wiring. Preston's back there still wiring. We won't let him out. You can't see much of it yet because there's a wall in your way and you're behind a camera. Next week, room 2. This is only 1/4 of this game. There's plenty more to go. You can probably see some stuff going on back there and we will get to splaining that. But you gotta wait, because we're not done yet.